host live out of Destination Newry, across the planet, wherever you're viewing, Manhattan or in Manitoba, Mayo Bridge or Mullabon. You're most welcome, and delighted indeed to see in studio with me Michael McKeown. How are you, Michael, this morning? And Paul Hobben. And both men are involved constantly now, I'm sure it seems, for the pair of you, in something called Newry's Greatest, and we're seeking to establish Newry's Greatest over all of the millennia. And Michael, maybe you'd start and tell us what it's about.
Well, I have to say it was Paul's idea. He ran a little fundraiser for Concern back in October, and I attended it, and I thought it was a fabulous idea. He was single-handedly trying to cover 6 or 7 characters from the history of Newry and promote each of them and to come to a conclusion. And about a fortnight later, I bumped into him at another conference, and I said, "That's a fabulous idea. Would you like to join with me, and we put on a show where we get individuals to promote each of these characters?"
Yes.
So that started about November, and I've been meeting roughly once every 10 days, gathering up a set of people who will represent different historic characters. And it's been a process of ensuring that no one turns up later and says, "You didn't include my great-great-grandfather." So we have practiced an answer for that, because we wrote to everyone who had any inkling of history in the area and telephoned some of them, etc. But they didn't respond. But the 7 who have responded, we've managed to fit them in the programme.
Just tell us now who the 7 people are.
Well, the 7 people are, we'll do a bit of visuals now. Paul, we have our promotional poster. You know, the big one, Paul, first.
Yes.
Don't get up, Paul, don't get up, or your mic will fall out. You need to reach around and get it, please.
Sorry, I'm upsetting the whole studio with a...
No, just pull it round.
This is the promotional poster, which we're going to hopefully have one up outside the City Hall.
I'll hold one end of it here. Andrew, can you get onto this? Okay. Now we're holding. You got that, Andrew? You hold it there, Michael, and that'll let us talk still.
So,
can you get that? Now, who have we got?
Well, over beside you, Rowan, is Finn McGorman, who was the first abbot of Newry.
Right.
And he is being championed by Dr. Mary Goss, and she will be telling people how all of the commerce and all of the benefit and good of Newry all arises from what the Sturgeons educated us into.
Who's the next person?
Well, the next one is out of chronological order there, but he's John Grubb Richardson, who built the model village of Bestbrook, which set out to look after its workers in a very new and careful...
caring way.
Actually, the word that he's championed by Ross Chapman.
Okay.
And Ross has said that he was a patron or a patronising employer. In other words, he thought he was everybody's father, so he had to provide for them well.
The next one across.
The next one across is an illustration, as best Paul could find here, of Richard Castle, who was the builder of Newry Canal.
Going to hear about him presently from Paul himself. Shortly. And the gentleman in the front?
The next one is a representation of Francis Carville, who was the largest employer in Newry in Victorian times, early Victorian times.
And you'll be telling me about him.
And I'll be telling you about him. I'm incessantly telling everybody I meet about him.
And the lady, the
next one is one of the Russell sisters. There were 3 sisters who joined the Mercy Order here in Newry, or around the time it started in Newry. And they're the people who are behind all our primary schools, St. Joseph's, whatever, schools in Bestbrook, Rostrevor, etc. And one of them became the Woman of the Century in California.
Okay,
so that's
we'll move on.
The next one is obvious to most people, although I have to say I never knew or met Sean Hollywood. But Donald O'Hanlon is proposing Sean Hollywood as the Newry's greatest person.
Okay.
He has a kind of an advantage over the rest of us because he's got some live footage of his character.
Wow. Yeah.
None of the rest of us have got that advantage.
So the next one is
the next
John.
one is we're bunching those two together, John Mitchell and John Martin, because there were Newry Young Irelanders who, in their day, were the most famous Irish people on the globe. particularly John Mitchell.
And who's representing them?
Well, Francis Gallagher, who he works in the local social services here. He's actually from Castlewellan, but he's a great historian. And at rehearsals, we've been hearing his presentation on it, and he is going to tackle the Mitchell-Martin in a way which none of us have ever heard before.
Right, that's unusual. That's something for you to say.
He's not doing the history of them in the way we've heard about this, that, and the other, and they went there and they went this. He is a member of that New Ireland Society.
I get rid of this here. Yes.
So Francis's whole slant, of course, is to explain his own philosophy.
Oh, well, sure, we'll hear that. So let's leave that for Francis at another time to do. He'll be coming in as a guest
I hope
again.
he will be in with you later in the week, yes.
Now, Paul, the canal builder. Why have you decided to champion the canal builder?
Well, first I would say that this is a tribute to the town and the area, which is a wonderful town. But the town didn't arrive just by accident. People built the town. People made the town. And our criterion is which person did the most for the people of Newry and area, and who brought fame to Newry. Now, we're doing it for the Syrian refugees, and it's quite amazing when you think we're doing about a town, and who's going to benefit? The oldest town in the world, Damascus, is going to benefit. But
how is Damascus going to benefit?
Because the money that we raise, and we hope we're going to raise about £3,000 or £4,000, it's going to Syria, worldwide Syrian refugee camps.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. It really, really doesn't. And why the man that you're championing?
Yes.
His name is?
Is he what?
His name?
Richard Castle.
Richard Castle,
now,
and he was the engineer.
He was an engineer and an architect. I'm only going to give you a taste because we want everybody to come to the talk. He was a German, and he came to Ireland and he built houses, but he was appointed by the Irish Parliament to build the Newry Canal in 1736. And then he started on it, and he was a brilliant engineer. His plans were used, and Newry Canal wouldn't have been there but for him.
Okay.
There were two people that followed him, Steers and Gilbert.
Okay.
They finished it off in 1742.
Right, let's leave that there. Francis Carville,
Well, Francis Carville, I would say, improved upon what they had done in that he was a merchant in Newry. He was the biggest employer, that's well documented, in the 1830s and 40s. He was also in the navigation company, which was responsible then for extending the canal from Victoria out to Victoria Locks and the building of the basin. But he was an entrepreneur in the true sense of the word. Not only was he involved in the canal, he was involved in the railways, and he had a big factory here, and actually had subsidiary factories, and he utilised the canal, but moved it on into the new technological ages, into the railway and so on.
Michael, if I were asked to judge between the two men you speak of, I would find it impossible. How are you going to do that on the night?
Well, Paul and I have had this issue since the day we met. He sees this sometimes as a debate, and sometimes I see it as they're standing separately and unopposed. But I have been thinking in his terms, and I have found a big difference. And the big difference is that Francis Carville was self-made. He had to make his own businesses, etc., to get the money to get involved in these other things. Whereas I would be saying against his man, actually the government threw the money into him. He only turned up whenever somebody else had provided all the money. My man actually had to start from nothing.
Well, what do you say to that?
Well, I say that it depends on what the product of his work was. The product of my man's work still exists today. The Newry Inland Canal, they're even renovating it now.
And you're talking about the product being the important thing.
And what it gave rich, it built the port, it gave riches and jobs to the people of this town, and it's really started off the town as a rich place.
Who's going to make the call, Michael, as to who wins of the seven?
What we did is we had some very learned discussions. I'm avoiding the word debate. Some learned discussions at the outset, where we all sat together and we come out with an ingenious idea. The first time in Newry, and I'm not sure if it's only the first time in Northern Ireland, we are going to equip the hope for 500 people in the audience. It takes 500 people to fill the City Hall, and by goodness, we hope we're going to do it. We're going to equip them all with a little electronic pad, something like the one you see on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show.
Yes, yes.
You know, there'll be numbers on it, 1 to 5, and the audience will be asked by the worthy MC, which I hope you will do us the honour of becoming yourself.
My pleasure.
Good.
I hope I'll be able to say it was a pleasure at the end of it, keeping you all apart.
Well, the worthy MC will ask at the end of each 12-minute slots. Each person has only been given 12 minutes to put their case, and at the end of each 12 minutes, the audience will be asked to vote on their little pads the answer to 3 questions. And the first one, as Paul has said here about the criteria, the first criteria is, what did this person do for the social benefit of Newry and its environs? And then you'll pick 1 to 5. Then the next question will come up on a big screen, and you'll be asked, what did this person do for the economic benefit of the area? And you'll do one between 1 and 5. And then the third question will be, what honour or fame did they bring to Newry? And the same thing, you'll do 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Now, the important bit about why we come up with this is we realised that if these 7 people spoke one after the other, the person who last spoke was likely to be burning most in the memory.
Yes,
and therefore was likely on a show of hands or whatever. But this way, each one will be voted on as you hear it, and you won't be able to go back and change your answer.
Yeah, you're there with it. Yeah.
And we've hired a very sophisticated electronic system to sort out this voting.
That sounds the way forward for it already. I can't help but think, boys, that on the night we're going to be we're going to be accompanied on the night by some very interested ghosts.
Yes.
Of those who have been and gone.
Yes.
The men that you're proposing and the woman that you're proposing.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we have been at the rehearsals, Paul, and the last rehearsal, I thought, this is a wonderful production. This is the history of Newry in an hour and a half by 7 different people.
Wow,
and don't forget, it's all as I was reading somebody else's publicity lately, and they said, don't forget, this is a PowerPoint presentation. Well, we probably went a bit further than this, because we have got live pictures as well as, you know, the 25-foot screen on the stage, and all our speakers have been preparing slides. Paul has animations of canal gates and all sorts of things. Unfortunately, my man's so long dead, we can't find anything about him.
But you've actually managed. You've got a foot in another camp, if you don't mind me saying so, because you sourced important information about the Holy Nun.
The Holy Nun,
the lady who went to America.
Oh well, that was more. That's actually slightly in the public domain, in that there's a book written about her. But I have helped Sister Perpetua, who's doing the presentation, find other things. Like there's a statue to a Newry woman at the door of the Senate House, or the state capitol in Sacramento, outside Schwarzenegger's window. He's looking out at a statue of a Newry woman. And I got a photographer over there to go and take photographs of those, which I used whenever a few years ago.
This is your book of Newry.
Advert time. The book of Newry.
It's the most beautiful book.
There's only 50 of them left, so anybody needs one, hurry up. But I did, for that book, get those photos taken. But the strange thing about my own characters is, when I was doing the book of Newry, I literally couldn't find anything about him. And excuse me, there's that.
That's the statue. If you can turn it around for Andrew there, he will see it. outside Schwarzenegger's
That's
window.
Schwarzenegger's window in the background there. And that's Sister Baptist Russell, a girl from Dominic Street.
See, that's it, the name. The Russell name is the Newry name. And the Carville name is a Newry name.
Well, those Carvilles that we have here, one of the daughters of, a daughter of Tom Carville,
Right.
who's from the entrepreneurial family in Warren Point, Rostrevor.
Yes.
You know, that now own Kenmare Resources and so on.
Yes.
Huge, big international business. She did a lot of research into her family name, and she could not find a connection.
Yeah.
Because, as you might know, the Catholic records only begin around the 1800s.
Yeah.
And we can trace Francis Carville back to the 1800s, and we can trace back the Warren Point Carvilles and the Armagh Carvilles back to the same juncture. But we can't get beyond that to see if there's a connection.
Yes.
So there's no way of proving that unless they all subject themselves to a DNA test,
Wow.
as I have done myself for another purpose, to prove that I am part of the Gaelic nation.
Wow.
You can go onto Ireland's DNA. I'll
You can
come
get
tomorrow
that.
and tell you about that.
I want to hear about
very
that,
interesting.
indeed,
I'm trying to
indeed.
get people of my name all to go to get the DNA test.
DNA, you see
But
here.
anyway, the difficulty with the Francis Carville would be we're going to have very difficulty getting his line because all of the ones on this side of the world have all died out.
Yeah.
But I have been speaking now to a relative in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for a family dispute reason, about a generation or so back, didn't Mr. Carville change his name to Munn?
Munn.
Because he had sort of fallen out. I think it was divorce, and he went with a mother, and he gave himself the mother's name.
Oh, sure.
So there's not even a Carville over there now.
You could see it happen, couldn't you? You
Yeah.
could write the script. But
That's all there was. Whenever I was doing the Book of Newry, that you could find about him. That one poster.
one poster.
And the poster
yeah.
is in the museum. Anybody wants to go up to the Newry Museum, you'll see that.
Yeah.
One poster and one little advert. But the other thing there is, he has a very fine monument in St Mary's churchyard.
He has.
It's a lovely big square granite monument. If you go to St Mary's and you stay along the wall going
He's buried
back
there.
towards
You
the
see
point,
the gravestone.
it's a more than a gravestone. It's a monument.
Monument, yeah.
And it's a huge big square of granite. And that's the only other relic there is of him in the town.
Okay.
But this weekend, Ron, I'm hoping to change that.
Well, there's a
Could I
blue plaque
say-
going up.
Could I come in now?
Of course you may.
I want to appeal to people to come and to tell them why they should come.
Yeah.
Now, do they realise what they're going to get for £10 and £5 for a student? They're going to get a bite-size, 7 bite-size histories of the people that built Newry and helped the people. And I know, as being a teacher, that there's very little local history ever taught in schools, which I think is a disgrace. I always did it at St Coleman's College. But this is like, Michael will enjoy this. This is a crash course in Newry and area history. And at one time, everybody was going to have a long speech, but we decided they would lose the will to live.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
we put it down to 12 minutes.
12 is about right. Any more than that would not be acceptable. I think you've got it right in terms of the duration of the event. But it's a major event in the history of the town because it's never happened before, and you've picked the right people to be the right heroes and the heroine.
We think we have.
I think so, yeah.
But you see, what as a social democrat, I want us not to forget the unwritten annals of the poor.
Yeah, well, that's...
Don't forget about them.
Listen to me. When you're talking about the poor, you're not looking back. When you're talking about the poor, you're looking to Damascus. You're looking to across the world with concern. And that's what's motivating you, Paul Hobben.
That's right, yes.
There's no getting away from that.
Oh, yes.
So there you
But
go.
I couldn't have done without this man. This man has been absolutely marvellous.
Well, he's a man with the capacity to focus.
He thinks big, you say. I don't really think big, but he thinks big. And He's even got me convinced that we're going to get 500 people in the town hall, and if he does,
well, you will, of
I'm
course.
going to give him a wonderful historical thing that he'll not get anywhere else.
Very good. The first day we talked about it, Paul said to me, he says, you know, well, if I put a bit of effort in, he says we could get maybe 80 or 80 people in the arts centre. And I says, Paul, the amount of effort I'm going to put into this here, I'm not going to do it for 80 people.
No, indeed you're not. Indeed you're not.
I'm going to make sure we get a big crowd.
We'll keep the whole thing moving because at the end of the day, it's 500 £10 or 500, certainly £10 for adults for concern.
And don't forget that we've done it as an election. Because we've got the posters, number one. And do you realise that you're the presiding officer and that Newry Town Hall is the polling station?
That'll be, that's
on the 28th of February.
28th of February.
7:30.
7:30.
And also we're bringing a living great to this show. Paddy McGuinness has agreed, the ex-concerned Deputy CEO has agreed to come, and we've persuaded the council to give him a mayoral reception, and he will be speaking as well towards the end. And we're very honoured to have one of the living greats of Newry at our event.
This will be the thing, and I look forward to seeing Paddy again, because the whole genesis of concern has Newry at its heart. Newry is where concern really cut its teeth through the office in Newry of Paddy McGuinness, and we look forward to seeing him there on the day. Guys, it's been very good talking to you.
Do you know he wants to tell you one last thing about where to get the tickets?
Yeah, where do you get the tickets?
You get them at Carlin's and Savage's and at Michael's office at the Crash office in Mary Street.
Carlin's on Hill Street and Savage's next door to us here in Monaghan Street, opposite the entrance to the Health Village. And the third place is at in Crash on Mary Street in Newry, which is the house next door to where I was born, where I lived as a boy. That's the way to be in there. And go through the door of Crash office.
I thought we were going to get a plaque for you.
No, I don't. A plaque is something that will come for those who need plaques and who require plaques and who deserve plaques. And in all probability, Paul, the man who will get a plaque on. When are you unveiling the blue plaque?
Oh, I'm unveiling the blue plaque on Saturday morning at the Canal Court Hotel for, guess who? Francis Carville, the Ulster History.
I would like to shoot the breeze with you a bit more about Francis Carville, and maybe you do something with me on Friday.
Aye,
I'll talk to you, I'll make a call, I'll check out a running order and see where we're fixed there. But I wish the project lots of success. I think it will go magnificently. I think you're in capable hands with Michael here, Paul. I think he'll shepherd the thing through to a magnificent conclusion. And well done to you, Paul, for thinking widely enough and generously enough for the people who need the money across the world. Well done, sir. So that's the lads done for now. We have other people coming in during the week to talk about the other folk, haven't we?
Well, I have. Unfortunately, some of them are going to be allowed to come in to talk to you and promote their cases, which we would prefer they didn't. But well, in the interest of fairness, we will make sure they come to see you during the week.
Well, you've been doing not too badly yourselves this morning, like, I tell you that. So listen, thank you very, very much indeed. That's the tickets at Carl Savage's, our Crash services on Mary Street in Newry. And it's the 28th of this month in the Town Hall in Newry. And please, please, please support this wonderfully imaginative and innovative event that will, at the end of the day, tell the story of Newry in very large part, and also reach out the hand of generosity of Newry to a world that needs support at this time in the Middle East. Thank you for coming in, lads. That's it for now. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning, God willing, inshallah, and we'll try to bring you more of the same. Until then, go well, take care. Don't sweat the small stuff, and as we always remind you of my friends across the great river Niger, when you have done your best, struggling between the immensities of your life and can do no more, our African friends would tell you quite simply, lay your head in your hand and leave the rest to the God of your believing. Go well for now. Take care. Be happy. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, lad.